Hi guys, welcome back to your third week of perspective drawing. Today we're going to draw, or actually this week, we're going to do a series of draw-alongs for 2-point perspective. So you guys just wrapped up 1-point perspective with your bedrooms. They look so great. You guys did such a good job adding character. And now we're going to learn to draw in 2-point perspective, which is actually a bit easier than 1-point perspective. The one thing to know, you're going to need paper again, and you can draw on I would say try to keep it bigger than 8.5 by 11. We're of course going to do the best that we can, but you're going to need, 8.5 by 11. That's like a copy paper. You could use a notebook paper, something from your sketchbook if you have your sketchbook with you. You also need a straight edge and a pencil so that you can erase out any mistakes that you might make. So we're going to go ahead and start out with our horizon line. Just like we did, this is our line of view. You're going to have this with any form of perspective. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my horizon line. So the difference between 1 and 2-point when you're drawing is that 1-point perspective, you would see the face of an object. With 2-point perspective, you're going to see the corner of a straight-sided object first. And that's going to be an indicator for you that, hey, I am working in 2-point perspective, or I'm looking at a scene that is in 2-point perspective, because you can see the corner. That stands out to you most. So with 2-point perspective, instead of working with one vanishing point, we now work with 2 vanishing points, one on either end of our line. So go ahead and draw those vanishing points after you've drawn your horizon line, one on each end of your line. We of course have our left side and our right side, and that's going to become important for drawing our 2-point boxes, which is what we're going to draw today. So I'm going to have you today draw along with me a series of 2-point perspective boxes so that you kind of get the hang of it. Like I said, it's a little easier than 1-point because you're drawing the corner. You're only working with 2 types of lines. You're working with orthogonal lines, lines that go back to the vanishing point, and vertical lines. There won't be any horizontal lines in these drawings. So a little bit different, a little bit easier in that way. So let's go ahead, knowing that, let's go ahead and start out. So we drew our 2 vanishing points, and now we're going to draw a vertical. Your vertical can really be drawn anywhere, but for this first drawing, I would say go ahead and draw along with me. So draw it kind of in a similar size and position on your page. So I've drawn my vertical, and like I said, it's important to know what side of the page you're on. The left side vanishing point is going to work for the left side of whatever object it is that you've drawn. So far we've drawn a line. So when I go to work with the left side, I'm going to use that left vanishing point. When I go to work with the right side, I'll use the right vanishing point. So I'm going to attach my line on the top and the bottom, start out here, to the left side vanishing point. Now these lines are going to be erased, a lot of them, so you may want to draw kind of light. You'll do a lot of erasing. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the right side vanishing point. So I'm going to attach that line to the top, from the top and bottom of the line to the right side as well. This is going to give me my corner. This is the most important thing with 2-point perspective, is seeing that corner, identifying that corner for a straight-sided object. So you can kind of start to see how it's creating kind of this cool like beam effect and a little bit of dimensionality. But I'm going to add to that now by cutting my box off in space. And I can really figure out how large I want the planes to be. Again, I'm using a vertical. It should be parallel to my original corner. And I'm just going to chop it off. This was a concept that we discussed in 1-point, or we at least, I went over in the videos in 1-point perspective. So again, then I'm going to chop off this side. It doesn't have to be the same size, the sides don't have to be the same size. They can be different. That's totally fine. So what I've created now is this box here in space, but notice that it's missing one plane. You can figure out what plane is missing based on your horizon line. This is my line of view. So if I'm standing at eye level and I'm looking at this shape, I would actually be looking up. So I would see the bottom plane. That's what's missing. I would not see the top plane. And so to create the bottom plane is kind of an interesting process. You're going to do a crossover. So the crossover happens when I take the line that I just drew. So if I just drew this line, I'm going to start with that one, and I am going to connect the one line that doesn't pass through the shape, the one part of the line that doesn't pass through the shape. I'm going to connect that back to my left vanishing point over here on this side. Now remember, I'm only drawing the bottom plane, so I'm only working with that bottom line. It doesn't pass through the shape, so that's part of how I know. Then I'm going to come over here to this line that I drew, and I am going to, because I'm working with this line, I am going to connect it over to the right vanishing point. So I am crossing over here with my perspective lines. And so what I now have, and I'm going to define it, I'm going to go over the top of it to make it darker, and I would recommend that you do that as well, just especially for these first couple of boxes, so that you really know what you need to erase and what you can keep. So I'm going to trace over all of the lines that I've drawn. And what I have is a 2-point perspective box that I have drawn correctly in space. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and erase. I have lots of lines I need to erase at this point. I'm going to erase out all of those lines. And I'm going to continue on. So in this video, I'm going to show you 3 different boxes, and each one I'll add a little bit more on. So there we go. There's my one box that I've drawn in 1-point perspective. Hooray, you have done it. You have created your first box. So now I'm going to draw another box, and this time I'm going to do it below the horizon line. So again, I've got my 2 vanishing points. I'm going to start out with a vertical line. This is my corner. Vertical lines will grow orthogonal lines. What that means is the longer that I draw this line, the bigger the shape is going to be that I'm drawing. So however long you draw that vertical, that is going to change the overall size of your shape. So now that I have this, or of your rectangle, your floating box here. So now that I have this line drawn, it's actually turned out to be pretty similar. I'll just make it a little shorter just so that we have a little bit of variety here in our drawing. But now that I've drawn this vertical line, I'm going to attach the left and the right sides as I did before, both the top and bottom of the line. So I'm going to attach the top line here to the right side first with 2 different orthogonal lines, top and bottom. And I'm going to do the same thing on the left side. I'm going to attach the top and bottom of that line to my vanishing point on the left side. So now I have my corner again. I'm going to set the boundaries for my box. Maybe I'll make this one a little bit more wide this time. Again, like however, far out I draw these lines, that's going to determine the overall width of the box. And now this time, because I am below the horizon line, I would see, this is my eye level view, I would be able to see this top plane of this box. So what I'm going to do is just what I did last time, only this time I'm working with the tops of the lines that I've drawn for the width or thickness of my box. And I'm going to start out with the top line, and I do the little crossover thing for that top plane. So I'm going to connect this one to the right vanishing point, and I'm going to connect this right line to the left vanishing point, crossing over. And that again gives me my top plane for my 2-point perspective box. Trace over it very quickly just so that you can see this box in space, and then you're going to erase out your lines. So again, we're erasing out these guidelines, these orthogonal lines, because they become a bit of a distraction for us as we are trying to add on to our drawings. There we go. And next, I'm going to show you how you can stack one box on top of another. So for our third box, we're going to actually, nope, I'm going to change that. First, we'll draw a line that exists on the horizon line so that you can see how that is affected with your planes and your perspective. So I'm going to draw it, just draw it wherever you have a free spot. I'm going to draw a tiny little box right here. So now I'm going to start out with my vertical again, tiny little box. I'm going to attach it on the left side. The other left, my right side. My right side vanishing point, and then I'll do the left side vanishing point. Start out with my corner, right and left. Now this is where, oops, I really didn't do a good job connecting those vanishing points. This is where my pencil lead, you may have seen this in my 1-point perspective videos as well, but my pencil lead is like I'm using these Bic mechanical pencils, and it's very soft lead, so it starts to wear down and it's just not as precise, and then my measurement gets off. So I'm going to redraw that. Again, with perspective, it's pretty important that you are really exact and precise. And so I'm cleaning it up. Like, keep it clean, keep it tight. That's one of your objectives for drawing in perspective, and you can see, like, it's annoying, but I'm having to erase because my lines were not well drawn or carefully drawn. Again, do your best with the materials that you have. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and chop off that box. I'm going to make it a real tiny floating box here. And I'm going to go ahead and, you know, cut it off in space. And then I'm going to erase my orthogonal lines. And what I'm going to take a look at now, and I'll go ahead and erase where my horizon line exists within that box. And what I want to take a look at is, like, okay, where is my line of view? Right now, should I be drawing the top or the bottom of the box? Because this box is floating right at eye level, I would not see the top plane or the bottom plane of the box. So this is all that I would see for this box that exists right on the horizon line. I would not be able to see, again, the top or the bottom because, you know, I mean, I could test out the theory. Everything is going to pass through or intersect my shape, no matter what lines I try to cross over for those outside lines. If I try and cross them over, they're going to pass through the shape. So there's no way for me to draw them unless I'm making like a transparent box or something. But in this instance, I'm making solid boxes. And so there's no reason for me to draw a top or a bottom plane. So anytime you draw anything directly on the horizon line in 2-point perspective, it's just going to show you the two side planes and the corner, not the top or bottom plane. So I said I was going to do 3 boxes, but I'm actually going to add one more on here today, and we're going to stack a box one on top of the other. So what I'm going to do for this is I'm just going to draw my vertical or my corner right below my lowest box right here. So you can kind of see I just drew my corner. I kind of drew it off to the side so it looks like they're kind of rotated one on top of the other. That will be the effect. And then I'm going to attach my orthogonal lines. Now, I can attach this bottom line to my right orthogonal line, but then the left line, I still need to draw, but I want to draw it lightly because it's passing through my box. So since I drew my vertical right here, like where it ends, that vertical corner where it ends, I needed to go ahead and draw it and pass through the top box, because what I'm eventually going to do is make them look like they're stacked on top of each other. I'm going to create another vertical for where my box ends, but this time I'm going to cut it short and not draw over the top of my box. And I'm going to erase out my orthogonal lines. I'm going to erase out the orthogonal lines here as I drew them through the box. In fact, I don't think I needed that top orthogonal line. I thought I might need it to be able to figure out how to create the back of the box, but I didn't end up needing it at all. For this one, I'm going to go ahead and connect that corner again straight to or at least as much as I want to draw of it. I don't have to draw it all the way back. I just have to make sure that it's aligned with the vanishing point. And then for the top part of the box, again, I don't need to draw it. Just like you saw over on the side, I didn't need to do that. So I'm just going to slide straight over to show where this box ends. And now I've drawn 2 boxes that appear to be stacked on top of each other in 2-point perspective. So for this draw along, you should have drawn a floating box above the horizon line, a floating box below the horizon line, one directly on the horizon line, and then you should also have one that's stacked. So I don't care where that would be. Like, I don't care if you have one that's stacked, like, you know, directly like on top of one of, you know, the little one, the one on top, that doesn't matter, but just have one that's stacked. You are going to upload, you're going to take a picture, and you're going to upload this to the assignment that is due for Wednesday. So make sure that you have this completed by Wednesday, and then you'll have another assignment Wednesday. You'll have the start of your project, a draw along that will help you practice for your project that I'll be giving to you on Wednesday. So make sure you upload your examples from this Monday lesson by Wednesday, And then Wednesday, I'll have a new video for you on how to begin incorporating this into maybe more of a real life scenario. After this, you will have one last video so a total of 3 videos that just kind of expands upon more skills in drawing in 2-point perspective.